Hello, everybody. My name is Beverly Thompson. I run a sales development and sales transformation company. We are Hulaine Strategic Services, and we've been working in Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean for about 4.5 years now. Well, we are facing unprecedented times, and many of my clients, your clients, the entire world is going through the same thing. So we thought that we would talk to our community a little bit and see how we can share our knowledge. But we're not just sharing our knowledge, we are incorporating people who we know who have been in sales and sales development and customer experience for a while and from different countries, and we want to share with you through them what are some of the tips that we have. Today I have Nadienne Neita, and for those of you who know me know that Nadienne is a Jamaican and she now works for Rogers Communications in Canada. And Nadienne has been in sales for a very long time. We worked together some time ago in telecoms. She has banking and telecoms experience. Today she is the delivery manager for strategic accounts. What does that mean? When the salespeople have sold their solutions or signed off on the deals, Nadienne's job is to ensure it's executed seamlessly, bringing matrix teams together and making sure that the solution is implemented as intended. Today, we're going to talk about two major areas, planning and leading during this time of Corona. Of course, we're utilizing the technology. Nadienne, you're in Toronto.
Yes, I am.
Toronto, Canada, that's where she is. And I'm in my backyard in Kingston, Jamaica. And so we're using the technology to share with our wider community just some tips on how we can thrive in this very interesting time in the world. So Nadienne, we're gonna, you wanna introduce yourself? You wanna tell us any little thing before we start? Or we just jump right into it?
Let's jump right in. And today I'm working remotely, so from home. This I do at least 2 times a week. So Corona, we're all working remotely in this new environment. We are in extraordinary times, but it doesn't mean that we can't plan and we can't execute. And we can't be there for each other and our customers.
Agreed.
Especially.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So there are sales teams, big ones, medium-sized ones, small ones. There are small businesses where you are the salesperson yourself, or you just have 2 team members selling different types of products. And we are addressing primarily the B2B target audience, or customers who sell to other businesses. And usually the retail community will get some things as well, but our primary conversation is around B2B. So Nads, in the context of what's happening now, what are some of the tips you will have in terms of how we lead our teams today? Because they would have been working remotely. And by the way, salespeople are very accustomed to working in the field. What's changed is how do we connect, keep the conversation going, use the technology, report, etc. in a telecommuting space or in a remote space? What are some of the tips you would have for us as it relates to a sales leader or a business leader today?
It starts with 3 things, 3 basic things. You as a leader, your team, and your organization. Just this morning, we had our 8 a.m. huddle. It's a weekly sales call with the entire sales organization. It's about sharing what's happening in our general environment, keeping our faith with the news. It's about what's happening within our particular sector. Are we an essential service or are we not? Do we need to provide goods and services during this time, or is delivery on hold, which means we need to sell, customers need to buy, and then we need to hold. We're not in a position to deliver as we usually are because of logistics. So as a leader, you need to understand the environment. You need to understand the profile of your customers. You need to look at the goals and opportunities and the challenges of your team. So let's start with you. You need to prepare. Do you have data in terms of what was in the pipeline up to the changing environment?
Yes.
Do you know what was 90% in terms of the leads that your sales team was working on closing versus what else was in the pipeline? Gather your data together. Be informed in terms of the status of each sales rep. Have each sales representative reach out to their customers. The first touch base is, how are you? How is your family? How are your teams? What's happening within your organization?
Absolutely.
You know, we are here to support. If you are an essential service, that is a business that can open and operate during this time, can you indeed deliver? your services. How do your customers access those services? And are they prepared, as they too prepare for business as usual,
Mhm.
to make ready? Do they have the raw materials that you provide or the service that you provide now? Can they wait till day one of BAU, or can you provision those services today, either remotely? Clearly, face-to-face may be a restriction. So it starts with you making sure that you can be prepared to support your teams, that you can give them guidance, give them scripts. So the first conversation was a touch base. How are you? Expressing empathy. The
Mhm.
next is empowerment. What are the tools available to get access to information, to be able to close that sale, to be able to support your organization and the customer's organization? And when
Mhm.
can you actually deliver and how? What are the logistics? Use this time as well, especially where your team may be remote, to have one-to-one touch bases
Mhm.
as well as the general weekly sales meetings. A touch base should be in the morning. How is your day? Have you found within your home space a confidential, quiet place to work that you can
Mhm.
operate efficiently? I mean, I've done several sales calls and closed several deals just from the comfort of my car. Why?
Yes,
Because that was the most quiet
absolutely,
place to be. Yes,
absolutely.
confidentiality is
Yes,
important.
yes, Nads. And I want to kind of stop right there because confidentiality, you are in your home space, you have your family members, different persons, moving around, and anything could be on your laptop. Any kind of information could be there, and you want to be so consciously aware of that. So cybersecurity and protection is one thing, but how in our own spaces we're working that we keep our clients and our company's information confidential while we're working.
Mission critical. There's a box that I used to walk around the house with. It had my files, it has my customer documents and information. And that went everywhere with me, especially when I'm working remotely, because that's my secure box. Do not touch. It's confidential. That's important. You're on your laptop, you're on your phone. Make sure to take that conversation elsewhere from other family members. Do those meetings in a secure space, a large closet, even in the bathroom, in
Yes.
the car. That's important.
Mhm.
Make sure that if you have kids that they are separated from you and engage in an active um, game or experience, and say,
Yes.
mommy or dad is going to do a business call now.
Yes.
Shh. So it's really about, as a sales leader,
Yes.
ensuring that your team members, they may be used to working remotely, but
Mhm.
maybe not with the entire family in the home space. So it means
Exactly.
that things need to change. So it's to understand the challenges that they may have, as well as use the opportunity to coach, providing scripts in terms of the kind of conversations to have, giving them information in terms of what's doable or what's not in the
Mhm.
current state, and more
Mhm.
importantly, preparing them for BAU. They,
Yes.
of course, would want
And
to
one
know,
second,
yeah,
Nads.
yeah, yeah,
BAU is business as usual, right?
business as usual. Thank
Just
you for
making
that.
sure.
Indeed. Yes,
Yes.
indeed. You have
Yes.
to make ready. Of course, what's pivotal for you and your team is compensation. And it's also about cost avoidance. If you think about it, no longer are they receiving the kind of earnings to meet the needs of their family they would have under typical situations. However, you can be creative.
Mhm.
What are the leads that can be generated during this time? Can that be compensated for? If
Yes.
they were at 90% and above in terms of closing, can we encourage our customers to buy and hold? Close
Yes.
that sale, leverage the revenues to be obtained, and to deliver at a future date if you
And
can't
give your
deliver now.
customer an incentive to close earlier.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. These are some of the creative ways that we can continue to do business even
Mhm.
in changing and challenging times.
Mhm.
Cost avoidance is important. Now, folks may be working more from home, as different from that cyber cafe where they'd normally run into, or even on a customer premises where
Mhm.
some sales reps execute effectively. In their own home space, you're talking about them using their own internet, perhaps, even their
Yes.
own personal devices. In a case like that, you want to ensure that you're giving them comfort, that once
Yes.
they log and track the expenses, that the business will support them
Yes.
in
Yes.
every way possible.
Absolutely.
These are some of the key steps as a leader that you need to employ.
Right. And as you mentioned, being accustomed to meeting the customer in their own space or their own offices, coming online and engaging is a different mindset. And so one of the things you may want to do is probably have them practice internally with each other. How do you talk to a customer? How do you have an engaging conversation using the technology, because you may not have been accustomed to it before? And
Absolutely.
this would give them peace of mind that they're not going to, you know, bundle up or look stupid, or so that they can feel much more comfortable facilitating their customers using this methodology now.
It's about confidence and it's about
Yes,
empowerment.
yes,
So in the huddles with the full team, do role plays.
yes,
Look at various sectors that you serve.
yes,
Come together in terms of the pitch, that 5-minute conversation and the script that you're to use to
yes,
engage the customers. Of course, empathy at the beginning and the end is important. Close the call with, wishing them, their family, and their teams all the best during this time, and that we're here for them to support and how to
yes.
contact them. And that's another assumption.
Mm-hmm.
Before, you had the extension number. You had the main number of the organizations on
Yes,
speed dial in terms of your customers.
yes,
Now, guess what? They're not in the office.
yes. So
How do
how do
you
you
reach
reach
them?
them?
Yes, that's so important. So this is where social media comes into play.
Yes,
Using LinkedIn, using your network of contacts to reach your
yes.
customers, to get their home number, potentially. Yellow pages is
Mm-hmm.
an asset.
Yes,
Of course, getting the mobile numbers from other friends or colleagues and reaching out.
yes. And so you
That's
mentioned a couple
critical.
words which are so important there. Network. Your
Oh,
network.
yes.
Oh, wow. So your network that you have, it is now valuable to you, more valuable to you. And as I've been telling my sales representatives or sales exec who attend my training, I've been telling them LinkedIn is your place to be. So if you were not there before, I implore you,
No more than ever.
no more than ever, as a sales rep, you are the subject matter expert. You have you have authority on the information that you know. So go to LinkedIn and use the social media space.
Indeed. And I mentioned Indeed and I mentioned LinkedIn. Like if you talk about social media and your network, the first touch base is important. Canvas as many persons as you can.
Yeah.
Ask for referrals as well. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
other businesses? I mean, we've managed to help you during this time, for example, or we have a plan of action in terms of when we're business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have other colleagues, other customers, other businesses in your sector that could use our services and that we
Yes.
can help? Can you
Mm-hmm.
give me a name and number, or can you do an introduction, whether
Yes.
via email or using social media? This is an
Yes.
opportunity to expand. If you
Right.
have your customers' numbers, WhatsApp.
Yes.
That's a good way together as a sales team that you can come up with creative messaging, even if it's topical in terms of the ever evolving status of what's happening in the country, to
Mm-hmm.
do broadcast messages to ensure your customers are informed. So you're providing helpful tips,
Yes.
providing value,
Yeah.
which is so important, and building on the relationships for future
Yes,
and for
absolutely.
current.
Because most leaders right now, they're focusing on getting the business done. There are so many things to get done, and they may not have had the time to keep abreast with what's happening in the wider environment. So you can create value there for your customers.
100%.
Mhm.
You talked about the person as a leader and preparing themselves. You
Yes,
talked about critical things that the sales teams would have an interest in:
yes,
compensation, covering costs, how to work in a secure and comfortable environment, approaches to improving communication with their customers, and
hmm,
building on the pipeline to close now, to deliver later, or to
yes,
deliver now where possible. One of the other things to touch on is expectations of the organization. As a
yes,
sales leader, you will have to look back at the numbers. You will have to look back at your forecast. You will have to determine what the risks are associated, and you will have to ensure that your leaders are aware of what is possible in terms of what can be delivered now, what
hmm,
can be delivered in a future date, and how do you compensate for the revenue losses that may be
yes,
faced today.
hmm,
These are all things that you will have to sit down with marketing, sit down with
hmm,
operations,
yes.
logistics, and finance, and to help you plan for this current environment and to make ready.
Right, right. And if you're a smaller business, then who doesn't have some of those, what should I say, functional areas to help them to figure it out, you're gonna have to put out on a piece of paper for yourself
Yes.
and figure out what is the reforecast. I have to do that right now because my business is face to face, where I was face to face, and I have integrated some telecommunicating and some online, but now I will have to double down as a small business. What is that forecast looking like? What
Yes.
promotional activities? How am I going to promote? What is the messaging? So from a small business perspective, you will still have to look at the different functional pieces that you talk about: the commercial piece, the marketing piece and promotional piece, the execution piece, reforecasting. And I like what you said about prepare your customers to be ready when there is business as usual when it comes around. Because
Important.
what you're saying is that you can't probably buy now, and we can't sell now. But what we're saying is that we are preparing ourselves, and we are preparing you to get up a little quicker, go a little faster when the dust is settled.
To add to that, a lot of our manufacturers, a lot of our companies, a lot of our businesses have raw materials and actual goods for resale from China.
Yes,
Have
yes.
we touched base with our suppliers to determine what their pipeline and delivery systems and their logistics look like? Is
Mhm.
this an opportunity to source other goods and services from other regions to ensure that we can meet demand and keep our business flowing? Have we looked at the
One second,
cost?
Nads.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Other regions were able to, because we're
Are able
we're
to. That's
right,
right. That's
right.
right.
So and you're right. It's touching base. What is the situation in their space? Because we can't follow
Correct.
the big headline news, right?
That's right.
Right.
Remember too that in some markets, production is happening. It may
Yes.
not be your standard or your typical source. So
Yes.
you really have to start looking at alternative product services that
Good
meet
point.
your end goals and
Excellent.
to establish those relationships. So
Yes.
right now it's about establishing relationships to
Mm-hmm.
be able to compensate for the lull that you may be currently facing in
Mm-hmm.
terms of product service, as well as in terms of ensuring that your market remains ripe for the picking in terms of your customers.
Mm-hmm.
Importantly, too, it's about reinforcing the standards and the quality,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
that's something else. You may
Yes.
be able to find a source, but it may not be of the same price. It may
Yes.
not be the same quality or standard that you're used to. These are
Mm-hmm.
all things and
Mm-hmm.
opportunities that you have now to make sure that you're ready and in a position. Have you reached out to your bankers and
Yes.
financial institutions to either access lines of credit, get better rates on those lines of credit, to
Mm-hmm.
get deferrals in terms of payments that you would typically have made? Have
Yes.
you brushed off the business plan that you have submitted to ensure that you can demonstrate your future, if not current capability, to meet
Mm-hmm.
the demands of the organization and to keep
Right.
your business going?
Okay, absolutely. And if I may just take that point that you've made for the business person, which is so super, super important, and just heading back a little bit to supporting your team members as well, because those are things individuals ought to be doing, I think, as well. So checking your credit card provider, your banker, can you get a mortgage payment holiday or a credit card payment holiday, or are there some better rates for something? Or do they have some loans with better rates to support people? So as you said, it's empowerment, supporting each other, getting ready for the next phase. It is so important, because I'm going to emphasize it. An excellent point, Nads, is getting ready for the next phase. Don't be left behind when things pick up and we're ready to go.
Planning is mission critical, and it's looking at all elements of the business. So
Okay.
coming back to the financials, the
Mm-hmm.
operational, and importantly, your team,
Yes.
your
Yes.
team and you
Yeah.
and your
Mm-hmm.
customers.
Right, fabulous. Okay, well, Nats, this has been so, so, so super, super, super informative. We looked at the sales leader, empowering the team, planning for yourself, supporting the team, looking at the business, forecasting, look at the strategic plan you made, or if you're a business owner, smaller businesses, look at the forecast, reaching out to your different financial providers. What can you get? Looking at different markets, what is going to be available for you, what can you renegotiate now, looking at the standards, looking at the quality. We talked about so many things in this power packed conversation. So I would like to thank you so much, Naz. Again, Nadienne Neita is the delivery manager at Rogers Communications in Toronto, Canada. And she shared with us this morning her 20 plus years of sales leadership and sales execution, and in terms of just providing the experience for the customer. I am Beverly Thompson, CEO of Hulaine Strategic Services. Look out for much more from us. We actually have some surprises coming up for you, which we will share. And thank you, and have a great day.